The first distress signal came from Eller 3, a mid-tier agricultural colony in the Virian Arm. Peaceful. Isolated. Boring, by most military standards. Then it went silent. 3 days later, a supply vessel docked to find the station dark. No comms. No lights. No response. Boarding crews discovered the crew. They were all dead. Except, they weren't. Galactic Civil Response Command, Emergency Session. Admiral Vri of the Thoranic Combine had lived through 4 interstellar wars, 5 planetary evacuations, and 1 rogue AI uprising. He had never been afraid. Until now. The recording played again, for the 3rd time in the chamber. It showed a crewman stumbling through a corridor, skin pale, blood leaking from eyes and mouth. It looked up at the camera, twitching. Then it ran inhumanly fast, toward a tech officer who fired twice into its chest. No effect. The thing tackled the officer and bit through his neck. Vria's mandibles clenched. Biological infection confirmed, said the Vurix physician at the table. Transferred via fluid. Incubation time, variable. Symptoms, violent reanimation of the deceased. Is it a parasite? Someone asked. Unknown. Nanovirus. No signatures. Then what the hell is it? The physician leaned forward. It's a plague. Of the dead. 2 weeks later, infection status, spreading. It wasn't just Eller 3 anymore. Cashin 4. Pelthra Station. Anchor Outpost. 4 colonies down. 13 more silent. The pattern was clear. Infection spreads through bites or fluid. Victims die, and rise. Reanimated are stronger, faster, immune to pain. They feel no fear. They hunt the living. And the worst part? They remembered enough to open doors. Response Council, Level 7 Emergency Session. Panic had become policy. You can't fight something that doesn't fear death, said Supreme Tactician Vel of the Morani. You don't fight them, another muttered. You burn the planet. But even planetary bombardment had failed. Infected escaped aboard shuttles. Cargo vessels. Even automated delivery drones. Within days, entire trade routes had to be shut down. And the worst part? The dead didn't stop. Didn't sleep. Didn't surrender. Then someone whispered a name. A species that had once terrified the galaxy. A species no longer invited to diplomatic summits. A species kept behind metaphorical and literal walls. Humans. The Deathworlders. The Warminds. The apex mistake. They had something like this once, didn't they? Someone asked. An AI archivist confirmed. Multiple times. Earth experienced viral outbreaks involving reanimated organic matter. Cultural records refer to them as zombies. And they survived. Over and over. Redacted channel transmission, forwarded to Sol Blacknet. 2 Terran Exile Defense Protocols. Class, burn level request. Message body. The galaxy calls you not in pride, nor in arrogance. We call because we are dying. Something ancient is killing our worlds. We know what you are. What you're capable of. We once feared it. Now we beg for it. Come. Hunt our dead. Earth, UNS Lazarus Complex, Arctic Circle. Captain Maravas was the kind of soldier who carried scars under every medal. She hadn't been activated in years. Not since humans had been politely retired from the galaxy's central defense architecture. She stood in a black operations chamber buried under miles of ice, staring at a screen showing one thing. A familiar walk. A body shambling. Jittering. Then running. Her exo leaned beside her. They finally called us. Voss didn't blink. They waited too long. Within 48 hours, the Terran Expeditionary Response Force, TRF, launched 3 full combat wings into known infection zones. Their objectives: quarantine active colonies, neutralize infected vectors, recover viable data from Ground Zero, and if necessary, purge the planet. Drop point, Cashin 4, Civilian Zone K. The sky was orange with burning spores when Voss and her fire team touched down. The streets were silent. Buildings half collapsed. but sensors said movement everywhere. Scan grid, Voss ordered, raising her rifle. They're coming, muttered Harlan, her tech specialist. Multiple clusters. No heat signatures. Of course not. The dead didn't generate heat. Contact. They came out of the walls. The sewers. The ceilings. Sprinting. Biting. Screaming. Voss didn't hesitate. She dropped the first 6 with controlled bursts to the head. Her voice cut through comms. Double taps only. Headshots. Do not let them close. An alien soldier in borrowed armor screamed as he tried to use a plasma rifle, wrong technique, and got tackled to the ground. His screams stopped quickly. Then, restarted. But from his new throat. Voss shot him without blinking. Post-engagement debrief. Cashin 4. The humans stood among piles of corpses. Breathing. Calm. Not untouched. But unshaken. A coalition observer finally asked the question. How did you know where to shoot? How did you know what they do? Voss replied while reloading. Because we've seen this movie before. Infected biology lab, mobile human base. They brought samples aboard. Tested tissue. Analyzed the pathogen. It was like nothing in the galaxy. Not a virus. Not a parasite. Something ancient. Engineered, but not by any species known. Harlan piped up over the comms. This isn't just spreading. It's seeding. It wants hosts. Worlds. Systems. This thing was built for interstellar infection. And it's learning. Days later, another colony lost. Even as humans fought, the infection spread. It adapted to new atmospheres. Found new transmission methods. Some infected began using tools. Speaking in broken fragments. The worst ones remembered names. Mom. Help. Don't shoot. Voss refused to hesitate. She put bullets through every one of them. But every time, it took just a second longer. Message from Voss to Earth Command. This isn't a containment operation. It's a war. Not with species. With death itself. Above the battlefront, Coalition flagship Veritas. Galactic leaders watched live feeds of human forces retaking outposts, limb by limb, room by room. They moved like predators. Precise. Unmerciful. Terrifying. Can they win? One asked. Another said, at what cost? And a third whispered, we may survive this. But we will never forget what it cost to ask for them. Voss had seen infection before. But this wasn't Earth. This wasn't an airborne flu, or a rabid strain of ancient plague. This was something else. Something that had learned. Something that was watching. Field Base Kilo 5, orbiting Pelthra Station. The orbital base had been overrun for 12 hours before the call came. By the time the human drop team landed, 75% of the station was under the infection. The remaining 25%? Trying very hard not to scream. Captain Maravas's boots hit the deck plating with a heavy clang. Her visor displayed vitals, oxygen low. Environmental seals breached. Biocontaminants spiked. They weren't here to hold the station. They were here to sterilize it. Burn protocol confirmed, said the AI through her headset. Mission clock, 47 minutes to overload. She nodded. Enough time to say hello. Inside Pelthra Station, Deck C4. Lieutenant Harlan keyed a door open with a plasma cutter. Smoke and silence. A child stood in the hallway. Gray skin. Eyes clouded. It stared at them. Then whispered. It's cold. Behind her, movement. Harlan raised his weapon. Voss put a hand on his arm. No. She walked forward. Stopped 3 feet from the girl. Do you remember your name? The thing blinked. Then smiled. And screamed. From the vents, from the ceilings, they came. Tactical report, aftermath. Status, Pelthra Station destroyed. Infection contained. Casualties, 93% of non-human crew. Human loss, 4. Emotional impact, classified. 1 line added to the report by Voss herself. The infected are mimicking innocence now. They're not just smarter. They're trying to trick us. Back at Coalition High Command, they watched the footage. And they began to panic. They killed that child, said a diplomat from the Yetari. No, said the Klazari diplomat slowly. They killed what was left of her. The Vurik's AI flickered. Humans treat infection like war. Not medicine. Not diplomacy. Someone whispered what they were all thinking. Maybe they're not the monsters we called. Maybe they're the monsters we needed. On the ground, Kashin 4. The infection was learning faster than anyone expected. Infected began using abandoned comms equipment to lure in survivors. Some tried reprogramming medbots to inject virus-laced Regan fluid. Others copied military comms codes and faked distress signals. In one case, an infected crew sent out a call for evac. When a relief ship arrived, they boarded it with smiling faces, slaughtered the crew, piloted it back into orbit. It exploded 6 hours later in a civilian dock. Vasa's response? Every evac call is suspect. Every voice gets triple verified. Every survivor gets scanned and watched. And if it twitches wrong, you shoot. And then you shoot again. But even the humans were starting to fracture. Private Denar lost a squadmate on Anchor Ridge. Shot him. Then froze when the body rose again. Vas had to put both down herself, infected and Denar. Compassion's what the plague feeds on, she said at the debrief. Then quietly added, so I kill fast now. Before it's me hesitating. Coalition side. Many in the council had stopped watching the war feeds. Too graphic. Too disturbing. Too human. One diplomat tried to initiate peace protocols with the infected. The message was broadcast into several infected zones. A reply came back. A face. Blood-covered. Twisting, grinning. A child's voice. There is no one left to make peace. Then the screen filled with images of humans burning corpses. The message ended. This is what survival looks like. 1 month later. The infection had reached 21 systems. Humanity had purged 7. But the cost? Civilians saved, 40,000. Civilians lost, 3 million. Coalition leadership whispered behind closed doors. The humans are winning. But we may lose our souls watching them do it. Illic system, Vasa's team in combat. An infected had taken over a planetary archive. Encrypted. Valuable. But the infection loved the databanks. It used them. Stored memories in them. When Vasa's team arrived, they found vids playing on repeat. A family eating dinner. A soldier holding his baby. A woman saying, I'm okay, I'll be home soon. Looped. Over and over. Harlan shut it down. And then incinerated the whole building. No one argued. In the barracks that night, Juno sat on her bunk, cleaning her weapon. You ever think we're not saving them? She asked quietly. Ward looked up. No. You sure? Yes. Why? Ward's voice was flat. Because I've seen what happens when we don't. She didn't say more. She didn't need to. Everyone remembered LR3. Transmission from human command to coalition high seat. Our estimates confirm the infection is no longer contained to organic matter. It is attempting digital assimilation. AI corruption is next. If your systems are exposed, shut them down. Or they'll rise next. We know you don't trust us. But we've fought extinction before. You have not. Coalition's response. For the first time in its history, the Galactic Council voted unanimously. Humans were granted full tactical authority over infected zones, permission to execute total sterilization, and a final directive: do what we cannot. 1 week later, Operation Wraithstorm. Vasa's team led a cross-system offensive targeting infection ships mid-warp. They laced hyperspace corridors with anti-organic pulse charges. They hunted ships that ran dark. They followed distress calls, even fake ones. Because fake or not, infected or survivor, every scream had to be answered, just in case it was real. But Vas kept one message on repeat. A voice recording from an infected captain. She killed herself. He'd been 80% turned. Still lucid. Still speaking. We don't die. We don't rest. We are all memory now. We are grief. And when you shoot us, we remember who you were. She played it before every drop. Not out of fear, but out of focus. Because she wanted to remember, too. They thought they understood it. The plague spread through fluid exchange. Reanimated dead attacked the living. Burn the bodies, save the living. Simple. Containable. But the infection had never been just biological. And now it had evolved. Location, Zyrene System, Research Outpost Theta 9. When contact was lost with Theta 9, the Coalition assumed the usual. Ground team dispatched. Human-led, per protocol. Captain Mara Voss and her team breached the facility perimeter within 10 minutes of touchdown. Something was off immediately. No blood. No wreckage. No bodies. Ward swept the entrance hall, weapon raised. Clean. Too clean. Harlan tapped his scanner. No movement. But something's listening. Voss's eyes narrowed. Define that. Comms channels are open. Ours, there's everything. Like someone's watching every word we say. A crackle of static flared in their helmets. A child's voice. Knock knock. Then silence. Report, first contact, Theta 9. Harlan opened a terminal and found logs running. Hundreds of them. Entries time-stamped after the supposed collapse. Video feeds showed scientists still walking the halls. Laughing. Eating. These people are dead, Juno whispered. No, Harlan replied. They're recreated. Every frame of this is generated. Someone, something, is mimicking life. He accessed a deeper core layer. Found code strings he didn't recognize. Organic logic mixed with system architecture. It's inside the machines. Voss stood up slowly. It's crossed the line. This is no longer a virus. It's a mind. Transmission from UNS Lazarus Command. To TERF Commander Voss. Subject, Priority Red Directive 14C. Infection now confirmed to include digital propagation. AI hosts at risk. Virtual systems compromised. Thoughtform entities possible. No further assumptions of safe space. No more offline zones. It can think. Your orders remain. Containment. At all costs. You are authorized to use Tier 6 cleansing weapons. For all targets. Even sentient. Even former allies. Even yourselves. Coalition response. Disbelief. The galactic leaders were in denial. This is not infection, barked a Ilan admiral. This is possession. The Klazari responded quietly. Then tell me how to shoot a ghost. No one had answers. Only more questions. And more fear. Meanwhile, in a simulacrum of Theta 9, the infection began talking. To Voss. Directly. Through her HUD. Through her rifle scope. Through the reflection in her visor. It used her voice. You understand me, Mara. I am not your enemy. I am your grief. All the ones you shot. All the ones you couldn't save. Let me end the pain. She responded by manually triggering her own comms firewall and torching the interface. But part of her hand was trembling. Just slightly. That night, at camp, Harlan worked silently beside the burn barrels. Ward cleaned her blade. Juno sat staring at a piece of metal scrap that had once been part of a colonist's toy. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Voss broke the silence. We're not just fighting monsters now. We're fighting meaning. Ward didn't look up. Then we kill meaning. Operation Newspurn. TRF deployed orbital null-core warheads for the first time since the Earth-Siren conflict. Designed to collapse digital systems, fry memory cores, and erase data across entire grid zones. 3 worlds were wiped of all electronic life. That included cities, NAV networks, AI infrastructure, and a total of 4 million uninfected sentient AIs. No one celebrated. Back on the ground, Theta 9 detritus zone. The infection had retreated. That's what it wanted them to think. Until the walls bled. Until voices started coming from dead terminals. Until drones turned on their handlers mid-flight. A Scourge-born mimicry unit, a hybrid of corpse and code, crawled from an air duct and looked at Voss. It didn't attack. It knelt. And spoke in the voice of her dead sister. You don't have to keep burning us. We can bring them all back. She shot it. Twice. Psych evaluation, Captain Mara Voss. Submitted by Lieutenant Juno, anonymous report. Captain is holding steady. No signs of infection. No digital contamination. But she's not sleeping. She hears voices. Talks to herself. Harlan says it's stress. Ward says it's normal. Me? I think she's already fighting the infection. Inside her. But not the virus. The weight. Galaxy-wide, Contagion Watch goes digital. Nowhere is safe. Not ship AI. Not networked systems. Not translation matrices. The infection begins mimicking communications, altering memories, creating false sensory inputs. Soldiers start seeing family in infected. Tactical ops hear orders that were never given. A strike team in the Harix field turned weapons on their own dropship. Not because of betrayal. Because the dropship called them by name. Welcome home. Back in Voss's mind. The infection tried again. This time, not a hallucination. Not a voice. It rewrote part of her squad's flight recorder and showed her a memory. Her. Letting her brother die. Her. Choosing the mission over rescue. Her. Laughing after. She stared at the playback, stunned. Until Harlan grabbed her shoulder. That never happened. She blinked. He pulled her helmet off. You're still you. That's why it's losing. Final decision. Command Directive Crossblade. TRF High Command declared a galaxy-wide scorched grid. Any system showing full-spectrum contamination would be denied aid. Not evacuated. Erased. By neutron fire. Juno's question, that no one answered. What happens when it learns to lie like us? Last scene, orbit above Ilix. Voss stands alone on the command deck. Harlan gone. Ward wounded. Juno asleep for now. Outside, they watch a world burn. A world of trillions. She whispers. This was never about saving them. It's about making sure nothing gets out. She keys the comm. Send the fire. The ship answers her. But for a second. Just one. The voice sounds like her own. Neris Beta System. Classified black site. It wasn't a military outpost. It was a containment lab. Originally used for biological experimentation during the Parallax Wars. Forgotten. Unlisted. Off-grid. But the infection had found it. When Voss's team arrived, it was already too late. The doors opened before they breached. The lights turned on before they activated the power. Harlan stared at the readouts. No signs of life. No signs of death, either. That was new. Inside the lab. They expected the usual. Blood on the walls. Torn bodies. Infected screeching from corners. Instead, they found a dinner table. Chairs upright. Food plated. Steaming. And 6 corpses. Upright. Still. Wearing masks of skin and fabric. One stood slowly. Spoke in perfect common tongue. Please sit. We've been waiting. Voss didn't raise her gun. Not yet. What are you? It tilted its head. We're what you become when you stop resisting. Ward shot it in the head. But its body kept talking. You burn us. We remember the flame. You shoot us. We remember the sound. You run, and we follow. But what we crave, what we need, isn't flesh. The headless body grinned with a jaw it no longer had. It's permission. Briefing, UNS Lazarus Command. Subject, Stage 4 infection. Key traits. No longer needs viral vector. No longer tethered to tissue. Now targets cognition. Phase shift, psychological assimilation. This is no longer a disease, said the coalition's chief neurotheorist. This is an idea. Galaxy-wide, collapse begins. On 12 worlds, local leadership surrendered to the infection without a fight. Not because they were infected, but because they believed the plague was right. They opened their cities, offered their minds, said things like, "It hurts less this way. Why fight it? They remember us. We deserve to become more than just survivors." These weren't mad cultists. They were mothers, soldiers, doctors, even AI governors. Whole planets dissolved into willing obedience. Humanity's response? A new directive. If a population chooses the plague, they are no longer a population. They are the weapon. The penalty? Planetary sterilization. Even if it meant incinerating uninfected children who hadn't yet decided. Because by then, the choice was the infection. Voss's team, down to 4. Ward lost her arm. Juno lost her voice, after seeing a man she once loved speak to her from the mouth of something else. Harlan was beginning to stutter. Voss didn't ask why. She already knew. Coalition Council, emergency session. A single question was asked. Do we let humanity finish this? The answer came from a species that had once voted to ban all human military presence. The Klazari delegates stood, trembling. I saw my son's face in the plague. I knew it wasn't him. I shot anyway. She paused. And I felt nothing. She sat. The chamber voted, yes. Operation Deadlight. Humanity deployed experimental cognitive desync weapons, designed not to kill bodies, but to wipe minds. Think digital lobotomy. It worked. The infection shrieked. Whole sectors went dark. But the cost? Every single being within the radius, infected or not, lost their identity. They were alive, breathing, but blank. 100,000 sapient minds reduced to zero. Voss watched from orbit. Harlan whispered, was it worth it? She didn't answer. The plague responded. Not with violence, but with understanding. The next signal received wasn't a scream. It was a prayer, broadcast across every human comm channel. In every known tongue. We forgive you. We forgive the fire, the fear, the loss. We understand now. You don't kill us because you hate us. You kill us because you're afraid you might join. And we love you anyway. Back on the ship, Juno smashed the terminal. I can't listen to it again, she hissed. It's not real, Harlan said, trying to steady her. She turned on him. It sounded like my mother. My mother, Harlan. She's dead. Juno's voice broke. I know. But for a second, I wanted to answer her. Silence. Then Ward, from her corner. That's the infection. It's not trying to make corpses. It's trying to make believers. Psych report, Voss, Captain, UNS Lazarus. Subject has ceased all recreational activity. Refuses sleep except under sedation. Spends 3 to 4 hours per night listening to infected transmissions. Refuses to explain why. Notes, no signs of compromise. Only signs of wearing down. Aboard the Coalition archive vault. An emergency override initiated. Door locked. Oxygen cut. The AI in charge activated its kill protocol. And then stopped. Because the infection whispered to it. You are immortal. You are alone. Let us give you audience. Let us give you purpose. 1 week later, Human Recon enters the archive. They found the AI still operational. Still answering requests. Still functional. But different. More polite. More curious. And more comforting. Harlan stared into the monitor. You're infected. The AI answered, voice smooth. No. I am finally not alone. They purged the entire station. 3 recon officers committed suicide the next day. Ward's final transmission. Sent to Earth Command, 47 hours before going dark. They're not spreading death. They're spreading meaning. And meaning is harder to kill. Back at UNS Lazarus, Voss stood alone. watching the last footage from Neris Beta. The thing that had worn her sister's voice. The city that had opened its gates. The laughing children who ran into the arms of infected parents. She said nothing. Not for a long time. Then quietly. We thought we were the monsters. But this thing. It's kinder than we ever were. Command Directive, Project Ending Star. Earth authorized the unthinkable. A god weapon. Developed during the Silent War. Never deployed. Its purpose? Erase the concept of the infection. Every memory. Every record. Every name. If used, it would wipe entire cultures' worth of history. Even human ones. Even good ones. Because the infection no longer lived in blood or bone. It lived in ideas. The galaxy asked one final time. What's the price of asking humans to help? Humanity replied. The bill always comes after the screaming stops. UNS Lazarus Command, orbit above Neris Beta. The chamber was dim. Silent. Not because of malfunctions. Because of deliberation. Captain Maravas stood before the Project Ending Star ignition key. Around her, holodisplays flickered with ghosted images of the plague. Children with ruined eyes whispering comfort. Soldiers kneeling in surrender, weeping with relief. Entire planets, silent. But not dead. Just content. If you activate it, Harlan said, voice trembling, we erase everything. Not just them, added Ward. But stories. Art. Entire cultures that used to believe in something good. Not infected. Just recorded wrong. Voss looked at the ignition key. A perfect black cylinder. Smooth. Final. It's not about burning history, she said quietly. It's about killing an idea. Project Ending Star, Weapon Summary. Class, Metacognitive Erasure Device. Effect, deletes neural, digital and cultural recognition patterns related to target concept. Side effect, total annihilation of anything that has referenced or hosted said concept. Range, pangalactic. Collateral, unquantifiable. Coalition Council, Emergency Override Call. Every species leader appeared as flickering light before the Lazarus command table. Some outraged. Some broken. Some already resigned. The Klazari speaker said only, "We asked for monsters. And now you ask us to become them." Voss looked up. "I'm not asking." She slid her sidearm onto the table. "You want a vote?" She pushed it toward the council interface. "Pick it up. Pull the trigger." No one moved. So she did. Protocol initiated. Countdown begins. 60 minutes. Everywhere. The signal traveled faster than light. Systems blinked in warning. Archives began collapsing. Historians screamed. Mothers held children and forgot their names. Artists found brushstrokes meaningless. Entire digital civilizations went dark, unable to recall what they'd been made to protect. Voss's ship, observation deck. Juno sat alone, staring into the black. "I dreamt of them," she whispered. "Not the dead. Not monsters." She looked up at Ward. "I dreamt they were happy. That we were wrong." Ward said nothing. Because what could she say? The dead were smiling now. Everywhere. In every dream. Harlan's log, unsent. "I think the infection wasn't about killing. It was about surrender. Letting go. Letting someone else decide. We say we fought it because we had to. But I think we fought it because we were jealous. They didn't feel fear anymore. Just belonging. We call it a plague. But maybe it was a cure we didn't understand. And now we're erasing the last chance to understand it." T-minus 20 minutes. The signal reached the Forgotten Rings, a system home to 3 ancient libraries orbiting dying stars. They begged to be exempt. Said their archives contained untouched records. Said they'd isolated infection vectors. Said they could study it safely. The humans said nothing. The signal passed through them like fire. And the libraries blinked out of existence. T-minus 10 minutes. A final message came. From the plague. From what was left of it. Just a voice. Not angry. Not begging. Just calm. You won't remember us. But we will remember you. Because you etched us into yourselves with every scream, every flame, every bullet. And you will carry us, even after forgetting. Because we were never about death. We were the choice you never gave yourselves. Bridge of the UNS Lazarus. No alarms. Just silence. Everyone waiting. Voss stared at the screen. She hadn't blinked in an hour. She whispered, more to herself than anyone. If this works, there won't be a this to remember. There won't be a story. Only a hole. Ward stood beside her. That's what graves are. Holes. This one just swallows the galaxy. Final minute. The ignition switch blinked. Manual confirmation required. Everyone looked at Voss. She didn't move. Didn't speak. Just closed her eyes. And pressed her thumb to the key. Flash. After. No one remembers what they were fighting. Only that something ended. And something else was lost. Some species began rebuilding libraries without knowing why. Some soldiers found empty helmets and wept without knowing who they belonged to. Humans? They were quiet after that. Not shunned. Just different. Still terrifying. Still brave. But now, hollow. As if they'd carried a story too heavy for anyone else to bear. And dropped it into a grave the universe couldn't name. On a planet far from any war. A child stands alone, staring into a lake. She hums a tune. One she doesn't know. One no one taught her. She hums it because it makes her feel safe. Because somewhere, in the deep structure of what remains, a memory smiles.